Today is August 26, 2013, and this is the meeting of the Paris City Council. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I would ask Reverend Slaughter to lead us in the invocation, followed by Dr. Grossnickel to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If I can have everyone please stand.
Bow our heads. Father God in heaven, we come this afternoon, Lord God, seeking your approval and seeking your wisdom and your knowledge, God, for these leaders that we've come before tonight. Heavenly Father, we ask that you look down into their hearts and their minds, God, that you would soften them and reason with them, God, that they would be good leaders, and not only good leaders, but godly leaders in this community. That they would have good judgment and good sound understanding of the way things are in the neighborhood and the communities, the surrounding areas that we live in. God, we pray a blessing upon each and every one of them tonight. That everything that will come before them tonight will be looked at and will be honored and will be well-pleasing to you, God. We look upon every person that's come together in this meeting tonight, God. And all the voices that will be heard, and for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, that it would be taken in good judgment and would be given in good soil in their hearts, that all men could come together with love in their heart, that we might agree on all things and some things that we may not agree on. And out of love, we may agree to disagree. But yet know that we all come before you, Lord, in love. And Lord God, we ask these blessings upon this council tonight. If it be pleasing in your sight, that all things will be done decent and order, if it be thy will. In Jesus Christ's name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4 on the agenda, as usual, is the Citizens Forum. Janice, can you please pull it up on the computer? Thank you. Persons desiring to address the council must limit their presentation to no more than 2 minutes. The Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the council from responding to any comments other than to refer the matter to a future agenda, to an existing policy, or to a staff person with specific factual information. Claims against the city, council members or employees, as well as individual personnel appeals, are not appropriate for the Citizens Forum. The Citizens Forum is now open. Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Carl Cecil. I spend most of my time at 305 Lamar Avenue, right over here. I wanted to ask on item number 20 on the agenda if there would be a time that we could have public comment after the mayor's presentation on item number 20.
I'll respond to that, Mr. Cecil. It's my presentation, and any further discussion on this will be posted as a second agenda item on the next council meeting.
My name is William Strathern. I live at 4905 Trails End, Paris, Texas, and I represent myself. I was just talking to Gene a minute ago. I wish you had more lights here, but anyhow, I've got my notes, so I'll go from there. I request to be placed on the agenda of the next regularly scheduled City Council meeting to discuss the results of my study into the recent PEDC activities. Through the Open Records Act, I asked for credit card expenditures and, more recently, additional data to shed some light on the items which may represent questionable activities on the part of the PEDC. I have received and analyzed more than 2,100 pages. But before I really get into that, I'd like to say that I started worrying about this a little over a year ago. The council suggested at that time that the 4B program might provide more flexibility in the use of taxpayers' dollars. That suggestion, that simple suggestion, caused an unholy uproar. And in my mind, I wondered why. I first studied how the PEDC was authorized and funded, and found that it was by a vote of the citizens for a specific purpose. That purpose being to, and I quote, carry out industrial development programs. Carry out industrial development programs, unquote. It is important to note that in recent years, the PEDC has not followed the voters' intent. I also noted that every time the PEDC is questioned, there's an uproar, as if the PEDC considers itself immune to oversight from the very people who have established and funded its organization. That attitude has strengthened my resolve. So one, I need to assess whether the PEDC is adhering to its established functions. Two, whether or not the PEDC monies are being spent wisely. And three, that the reported growth in jobs is factual. My purpose for requesting the audience with the council is to make my findings available, actually called our findings available, and to make specific recommendations as to what steps you may want to consider in the future.
Mr.
Thank
Sheridan,
you for your time and attention.
your 2 minutes are up, but I'll be glad to put you on the agenda just like I will Mr. Carl Cecil's request. Anybody else wanting to address this citizens forum?
I am Rita Jane Haynes, and this is Steve Tucker, and we're with the Red River Valley Fair Association. As everyone knows, the fairgrounds is run by the Red River Valley Fair Association, is owned by the city of Paris. Over the last several years, we have built 4 buildings, 3 barns, some restrooms, and we have put fencing and paving and this sort of thing on the fairgrounds. According to our lease, we have to put 5% of our income into capital improvements on the fairgrounds. At this time, we have over $600 and something thousand over in capital improvements on the fairgrounds. At this time, we are in dire need of outdoor restroom facilities on the fairgrounds. We have gotten estimates on this, and at this time, we would like to ask the council to consider in your budget some help with building restrooms on the fairgrounds. Over the past several years, we have several events that have come to the fairgrounds. I have a complete list here. Like the Carson and Barnes Circus. Now, I'm just giving you the ones that would need these outdoor restrooms, not the buildings. The livestock shows, Chisholm's Livestock Show, the Junior Livestock Show, Kids Safe Saturday, the Handicap Rodeo, the Spring Fair, and the Barbecue Cook-Off. The Paris Art Fair came to the fairgrounds this year. We've had the Cub Scouts out there for several years on their day camps, Turner Pipes Company Picnic, the Northeast Texas Travelers Car Show, the Paris Blues Festival, the United Ways Block Party, the Red River Valley Fair, of course, the Vietnam Reunion. The Paris Antique Fair is growing every year, along with Christmas in Fair Park. I would be happy to furnish all of the council members with a list of all the activities on the fairgrounds, as well as a complete list of all the capital improvements that we have done on the fairgrounds over the years. Any help in the budget would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else for the Citizens Forum? If there's no one else, Then we'll move on. And the next item is the consent agenda. Does anyone like to single any item out on the, Ms. Drake,
No, sir.
Matt, Dr. Grossnickel,
No, sir.
No, sir.
Lancaster, Mr. Jenkins?
No.
Then we're through with the, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. The motion carries. Next, we move on to the regular agenda. I'd like to ask Ms. Patty Clement to please come up. Item number 11 is presentation by Ms. Clement regarding travel in the city of Paris for those who are sight impaired. I actually put this item on the agenda, and the reason for that was I was talking to Ms. Clement and I was quite influenced by her description of travel for blind people in the city. It came to my mind because as I went to the White House a few weeks ago, it was interesting to see there was a blind representative from Michigan, and the way she was moving around, how great it seemed. And so it brought some interest in me. So Ms. Clement, please go ahead with your presentation.
Okay, I'm an orientation and mobility specialist, which means I teach people to safely and efficiently travel through their environment. Normal vision is 20/20, and this is called acuity, and that's the clarity or the sharpness in which we see. From 20/30 to 20/70, we wear reading glasses, basically. 20/70 and above, I don't know if y'all have been to the eye doctor. Some of you have, obviously. 20/70, you start having trouble seeing. At 2200, you are legally blind, and you can go anywhere from there all the way up to 1600 with no light perception. So you... people in the city of, well, not in the city, in the county of Lamar, the Lamar County has the highest percentage of blind and low vision people in all the surrounding counties. Blindness is not really a disability, it's just another way of seeing, and it's, you've got to have the right environment to travel safely. And I've noticed that everywhere, well, all uptown, there's truncated crossings. Those are the little dots where the blind people can feel where they're at. If you see a white cane, that means that person cannot see. That person may look totally like they have total vision, but if they have a white cane, they do not have total vision, and they might not just see the depth of a drop-off. Or DARS is the Division of Assistive and Rehabilitative Services, and that's the person that services our adults in Lamar County.
Ms. Clement, once again. Ms. Cherry, there's seating up front if you want to come and sit up front. Ms. Cherry, there's seating available up front. Right there. Go ahead, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay, that's all right. The square has an auditory crossing, which is great. At one time, it was not on, but y'all had to approve it at some time to get those auditory crossings, and now they're perfect. I went down and went around, and they are perfect, and they're wonderful. The travel on foot those kinds of things are really important, but there is a spot at the college that needs to be looked at. And I guess that's about it. Blind people traveling can travel anywhere. They can travel on an airplane. They can do all kinds of things. Their cognitive abilities make the difference in what they can do. But if us as adults, if we go blind, it's not a loss of hope, because we can do everything a sighted person can do. We just have to learn how to do that. And that's my job, is to teach people how to get around and have confidence to be able to get around and have confidence to go to the White House or go anywhere else in the world they want to. I know several world travelers that are blind, and it's just a thing. So.
Tell us about what you were telling me about you traveling blindfolded.
As an orientation and mobility specialist, I have to travel blindfolded. I have to put a blindfold on and go out and travel the same places that a blind person would have to travel. So I have to find all the bad spots in the sidewalk and I have to be able to relate to the person I'm teaching, and it's actually fun to go out and do that.
Thank you for your time, and if there are any suggestions that you can come up with, we'd be glad to entertain them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Item number 12 is conduct public hearing on the city manager's proposed budget for the fiscal year 2013-14. Section number 50 of the Paris City Charter requires a public hearing on the proposed budget. I declare the public hearing open. If there's anyone wishing to speak about the proposed budget, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. If there's nobody wanting to speak, the public hearing is now closed. Item number 13 is discuss the proposed budget for fiscal year 2013 and 14. Mr. Anderson.
At the budget workshop we had last week, the council reviewed the budget. There were a few questions asked, and sent out an email, had the answers to those questions that were raised. So you've had a chance to look at those. If you want to see them again, I do have copies of those, of that email with me. So the primary purpose we're at this point is just to see, is there anything else in the budget, proposed budget, that y'all wish to make a change to? And if there is, we will add that to the list of changes that have already been proposed, and we'll publish a notice in Thursday's paper stating what those changes are, or at least the increased changes, and then we'll have to have a public hearing at next Monday on just those changes, not the whole budget, but just the changes.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. My personal feeling on this is I need a little more time, and I think if we have to call a special meeting for that, I don't have a personal problem with it, but we'll go along with what the rest of the council wants. So, Mr. Wright.
I'd like a little more time also, particularly on a couple of items. One being the hiring partners, the $280-something thousand. I think we have to look at bids on that.
Anything else, Mr. Wright?
And I also believe that we need some rules as regards the incubator. I'm not saying we shouldn't fund them, but we need rules on that and any other item that we're going to add to the budget. Okay. We need the agreement.
I think that you're going to discuss that further too.
That's on the agenda.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Mr. Jenkins?
Pretty well the same. I just need a little bit more time.
Ms. Lancaster?
Yeah, a little more time on a couple of items.
Dr. Gross-Nickel?
Have we already added the possibility of funding those parking lot repairs at the Civic Center and Sports Complex?
I did not add that. The council didn't give me any specific direction to do that. I did remind y'all that the request had been made, to do that, and as well as the requests that had been made for some additional repairs on the trail. Those had been brought before us, but we didn't take any action to increase the budget for that.
And the other item was the mowers that you brought up, because we had one mower catch fire, and so we need some zero radius type mowers for replacement.
Yeah, the primary, well, the increases were, we had added the defibrillator for the or at least one of the defibrillators for EMS, and we'll do another one, try to do another one next year. We've done the more for the Parks Department, The two items, the incubator and the retail recruitment items, were added. And then, as I told you in my email, we had failed to include the salary for the city planner in those original budget numbers, and we discovered that this past week. And so I added that to that and then decreased some other items so that that's budget neutral. But those will represent increases to what was originally proposed, so we will add those to our notice. But it's budget neutral.
And the other thing is Ms. Haynes' proposal this evening, she had discussed with me and Ms. Drake, and I think that that's a worthy item, that the fairground does need additional bathrooms if we can. It might have to look at the estimates, of course, first and see how much the damage would be.
The general fund, of course, is really tight, and the council does have the option, I guess, if it wants to dip into reserves for part of that. There is money, I believe, in the water and sewer fund that if we wanted is the city's portion of that to run any necessary water or sewer lines to that point, and any plumbing related things to those bathrooms. I think there's money in some line items that we could do that in the existing proposed budget. What I don't think is in there is for building construction itself. I just didn't see any way to do that, short of dipping in reserves, and I'm not going to propose that. That'll be something the council will need to decide.
Thanks, Gene.
Mr. Frierson?
My questions are going to be along the lines of Dr. Gross-Nichols, so it sounds like we need more time.
Ms. Drake?
Same here, and anything we could do to help the fairground, she would be appreciative, so more time.
Yes, Mr.
I'd
Wright.
like to remind everybody that we're teetering into deficit spending, and I'm not a proponent of that.
I'm not either.
No.
Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Wright. So, Jean, what I would like to suggest is that even if we have to call a special meeting, I know you have some time constraints, so if we have to call a special meeting, we can discuss with the council members and call a special meeting if we have to.
Okay.
So that we can get it squared away.
Just to talk more about the budget?
Yes,
Okay.
so that everybody is comfortable with the various thoughts and ideas.
Okay.
That was item number 13. There was no motion required on this item, correct? Yeah. Item number 14 is discuss and act on resolution calling a public hearing on proposed budget amendments to the proposed budget for fiscal year 2013 and 14.
Yeah, we can actually not skip that item because we're going to meet again. There's no reason to have a hearing on the ones changes we made. We'll just wait and do them all at once.
Thank you. So we don't need I would like to take a motion to table this item or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll table it.
Table the item.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Item is tabled. Item number 15 is my presentation. Discuss quarter cent sales and use tax approved in 1993 for reduction of property tax rates. I apologize, but we are having some computer issues, so I wanted to show you some slides, but we'll have to do without the slides, so I'm going to read it, and then if anyone has any questions, I'll go over them. So this item was brought about partly with respect to I first of all wanted it myself, then I think Mr. Wilson came to one of the meetings and was concerned that we keep discussing PEDC's quarter cent, but we don't discuss what the city gets. We had already placed it on the agenda, so I wanted to discuss this. So first of all, I'm going to read what the proposition said, and this is from special election May 1, 1993, and that was proposition number 2. And that the proposition read, the adoption of an additional sales and use tax within the city of Paris, Texas, at the rate of 1/4 of 1% to be used to reduce the property tax rate. Now, I wish I could show you the slides on this, but I will just go over one by one of what the property tax rate history has been. In 1992, the total tax rate was 0.54, out of which 0.0457 was for debt and 0.49 was for O&M. I'm going to take you now to year 2000, where the tax rate was 0.61 with Oh, can you put it up? That'd be great if you can. I think those are the ones that I actually need.
You want?
Yeah, keep going. Yeah, this one. That's perfect. So in year 2000-2001, the tax rate was 0.61 with 0.09262 for debt and 0.51738 for O&M. Mr. Anderson, would you describe what O&M is for everyone?
O&M is just the abbreviation we use for operation and maintenance expenses. It's everything other than debt.
Okay, thank you. In year 2002 and 2003, the tax rate was 0.69, the highest it has been, and that continued on from 2002 to 2003, 2003, 2004, 2004, 2005, 2005, and 2006, at which point the rate dropped to 0.59. I'm going to read the list of council members who were on the council from 2003-04 all the way to 2006 and 7, because that is the time when the tax rate was the highest. Mr. Fendley, Mr. McCarthy, Jay Guest, and Jim Bell on 2003-04. 2004 and 5, Mr. Fendley, Jim Bell, Mary Ann Fisher, Rick Poston, Jay Guest, Don Wilson. 2005 and 6, tax rate 0.69225, Richard Manning, Tim Ray, Don Wilson, Mary Ann Fisher, Kevin Gray, and Jesse Freeland. Tax rate dropped down to 0.5922, Steve Brown, Will Beard, and Bill Stratton. And I'll discuss this as to how it dropped. Could you go to the next slide and show how much money has been collected? Yeah. Year 1993-1994, 606,926. If you go down to 2003 and 4, 963,000, 4.5 million, and thereon and on forth. Go to the next slide, please. The state comptrollers. Yeah. This was this is from the state comptroller's Truth in Taxation Guide, and it reads, once a taxing unit has collected the additional sales tax for a year, its property tax revenues will reflect any rate reduction arising from additional sales tax. As a result, calculating the effective tax rate will not require an additional sales tax. Jean, can you explain this in simple language, please?
Okay. When the voters voted to levy a quarter-cent sales tax for property tax reduction, what the law required us to do is to adjust the property tax rate in whatever amount it took to lower the property tax revenue in an amount equal to the sales tax revenue. So basically what we were doing is substituting sales tax for property tax. And that's a one-time adjustment. And that's what it was trying to explain here. We dropped the rate about 7.2 cents when we instituted that, and that was, just kind of a wash, a break even at that point. And all this is saying is that once we make that adjustment, we don't have to make future adjustments because of the quarter-cent sales tax.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is interesting this discussion comes up now. The sales tax amount has been in existence since 1992, 1993, and there have been 10 councils since that time. Even the gentleman questioning this has been on the council. I would like to know, why was it never brought up before, and why weren't the taxes reduced and budgets passed by the same very people who are complaining about it? One thing that I would like to say is, I've gone back and looked at all the meetings that were conducted for budget. There has always been a discussion of tax reduction, but nowhere in the budget discussions did I ever see anyone talk about it as to why that tax has not been brought down at that point. Now, what is the legal standard? Legally, as Jean has mentioned, the requirement was met when the property tax was reduced in the first year. Morally, what should we have done? We should have reduced taxes every year. When I read the ballot, it means to me that the money for property tax reduction is for every year. Now, this is my understanding of reading it. It may be wrong or right, which way one wants to think, but The ballot language does reflect, if a common person was to read it, it would reflect that when you collect that tax, you should be reducing the tax rate every year. I will only talk about the last 2 years, since we as a council have approved the budget and we have reduced the taxes. Is it commensurate with the amount of sales tax that we collected? The answer is no, we have not. But we have at least tried to do it without cutting services. Actually, we have added services and we have not cut any staff. We will still work to improve our productivity. Have we achieved our goal? No, we have not, but at least we are working on it. Could we do better? Surely we could. Should we reduce the taxes based on our collection? Ideally, we should. However, one must remember the following facts. The sales tax revenue is not a predictable revenue. It could be up or down. If we were to reduce taxes based on 1 year, and if we had a bad year the following year, we'll have to raise the taxes. We have created ourselves an ordinance that requires us to maintain 5 months of reserves, and we will be left with very little working capital if all of it was used to reduce the property taxes. If we ever get in a financial crunch, we will have to increase taxes, and finally, the amount of reduction that one will achieve will be minuscule when it affects the individual taxpayers. If, however, the residents of the community still want to entertain this possibility, the council, I'm sure, will have no objections to discussion on it. Mr. Wright, any comments?
No comment.
Mr. Jenkins?
Not right now, no comments.
Ms. Lancaster?
No comment.
Dr. Grossnickel?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Frierson?
Yes, absolutely. I appreciate you bringing that to everybody's attention, and I think Mr. Wilson was trying to prove a point over time, and I think there was some validity to his argument. However, to refer back to those councils, some of which are here this evening, I think is to do a great injustice, because while that slide shows a higher tax rate and even a tax increase, I think an important question to ask would be what was going on during that time that those councils had to deal with. There could have possibly been extenuating circumstances. Gene was here as finance director. I'm sure there was a logical reason that those things happened. I think we all want lower taxes, and I don't think you can overstate that. However, perhaps Gene would like to comment on those instead of saying that the other councils were not being as discerning as perhaps they needed to be. So,
Actually, that was not my comment. I didn't say they were not concerned. They did talk about reducing taxes.
You put up a slide that showed tax increases and then started naming council members. I think it's a fair question to start asking what was the extenuating circumstances that might have been had
Go ahead.
in the previous decades. So maybe not at this moment, but I do think that's a fair question. That's my comment at this time.
Ms. Drake?
No comment. No comment.
Okay, thank you. That item is closed now, so item number 16. Discuss and act on policy authority for the City of Paris. Mr. Wright has put this item on, and we are up for discussion.
The need for this council to clarify this issue came with the mayor's appointing of a committee to look at the city's policy manual and recommend change if in their mind there was change needed. It was soon discovered that there had been changes made and that the council was not aware of those changes and hadn't been told about them. So thus the question became obvious: who has the authority to make city policy? Being unsure how or if the charter addresses this subject, the committee needs clarification. And I would like to ask the city attorney his opinion on whether or not the charter does address that question.
Yes, sir. Under Section 21 of the city charter does state that all powers of the city and the determination of all matters of policy shall be vested in the city council. So it's clear in the city charter that the city council has sole authority to set policy.
Thank you very much. I think we have our answer.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you, Mr. Godwin. Welcome back. Mr. Jenkins.
I have no questions on that. I just got the answer from attorney.
Ms. Lancaster?
I don't have any questions at this time.
Dr. Grossnickel?
Is this in regards to the change made by Mr. Godwin in one of the departments that we weren't quite aware of. Is that, John, what brought this up?
There was more than one
Yeah.
change.
Okay. All right. That's
I think Ms. Drake can attest to that.
That was the original thing that was brought to the attention of us. And then the committee, as we have gone forward, we have found other changes, not only since this manager, but other changes that have been, that have occurred. And so we were just trying to get clarification because we are meeting again later this week.
Thank you.
Mr. Frierson?
No questions.
Mr. Wright, how do you want to proceed with this? What would you like to do?
Well, I think we have our answer. If the charter says that's the way it is, we can't go against the charter.
Okay. Is there anything in particular that you want done on the items which have been changed?
The committee will proceed with our charge from you.
Okay. All right. So I'll take a motion to table this item for the time being till we get a report from the committee.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 17 is discuss and plan citywide meetings to be held in individual districts for the purpose of receiving input from the citizens about water and sewer problems in the neighborhood. Mr. Anderson.
Well, it's my understanding that the council wanted to make sure that they heard from all the citizens and wanted to make it as convenient as possible, for the citizens to express any problems that they were having. And by having citywide meetings to be held in the different districts, they thought that people might be more open to coming to a meeting in their own neighborhood than perhaps coming before the council and being on television. So I think that's the idea that's been thrown out there. It's up to the council whether or not you want to do that or not.
And actually, I think most of the council was present. Dr. Grossnickel was not there that day. I think we all discussed about the fact that we wanted to do meetings in our own districts, invite people over, because what was felt was that there were places where, since there were not a lot of complaints received, though there were problems with water and sewer in those areas, but the complaints were not received, they did not get on the priority list. And the thought was to meet with the residents in each of our individual districts and see what number of other complaints we can receive before a final plan is made of what all is to be replaced. Mr. Wright, any comments?
I think anything that will help us identify where the problems are is what we need to do before we start the project.
Mr. Jenkins?
I think it's a good idea. I'm ready to go forward with it.
Ms. Lancaster?
Well, I've already started to meet with some of the residents on a one-on-one basis, door to door, and I'm finding more than a few that have not turned in both sewer, water leaks. They just have gotten where they ignore it now, but they're there.
Dr. Grossnickel?
Seems like a good idea.
Mr. Frierson?
I agree. Sounds like
Ms.
a very
Drake?
good idea.
Absolutely. The citizens voted this bond in, and I think we need to hear from each district as to any problems that we may not be aware of.
Thank you. Should we make a joint date right now as to what day do we want to do this and announce the date today so that people can get together someplace and get it done?
Do we need to individually find a location within our district to hold this meeting on
I
this
think that
particular
probably
date?
will be the most convenient to have it in your own district, and I think maybe if a church would be kind enough to allow us to do it in that district church or someplace where people can easily gather, and maybe if we want to make it convenient for a day when the church services, if the church would allow it.
Maybe the polling places.
Polling places, not a bad thought either.
It's a church.
Or would it be easier just to schedule with Gene or Janice, kind of whatever fits the individual schedules? And because we'd also discussed the possibility of coordinating with some of the people in the water and sewer departments, because they will be the actual experts on it.
Sure.
And just have a
So does
deadline?
everyone want to email Jean with their particular date and then we can make an announcement?
Works for me.
Yeah, works.
If we can maybe do it, tomorrow we have a meeting? Maybe if we can come up with some dates tomorrow, because otherwise it will keep getting delayed. And not only that, I think when there are people present, it's much easier to make an announcement which will go through the community much faster.
Yeah, we need to go ahead and get this done as soon as we can, so we can keep continuing to go forward at a rate that we need to do and not lollygag around.
So,
Can we assume that there won't be a quorum of the council at any of these places?
I don't think.
well, we will be doing it in individual, our own district, so the likelihood of a quorum will.
Maybe one or two.
All right, I just want to make sure
Yeah.
y'all weren't going to visit each other and we needed to post it that way.
If we see too many in there, we'll walk out.
All right, so tomorrow we will let Jean know exactly when these meetings will be. And Jean can then provide that information to the paper. That brings us to item number 18. Discuss and authorize issuing requests for qualifications for an engineering firm to design municipal infrastructure for City of Paris. Mr. Napier.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This particular item we discussed at our last joint meeting with the CIP Committee and City Council. We discussed the possibility of submitting a request for proposal. Talked a little bit with Dr. Hoshby about this at the meeting, and after that, in getting this out there to different engineering firms, different ways to do that. Obviously, the Parish News would be one. Obviously, I've got a lot of email addresses from people who have been contacting me over the last few months asking about when this is going to come out, so I do have individual email addresses to send this to, as well as there are several websites and even TML, a few other places we can send this to, and they will post on engineering forums, web pages, where larger engineering firms would see this, not only, Parish, Texas, state of Texas, nationally. But
Yeah, go ahead.
I have included in your packet, I just put some random dates in there, nothing really big or firm about these dates. Just posting in Parish News, looking for, articles back or looking for the proposals back into September. Nothing magic about that date either. If you guys want to look this over one more time, where we discuss it later on, but that's kind of the next logical step in the process, is to look for this. We can still go about making our decisions on water lines, and the good thing about doing proposals is there's not a deadline to them, because you're not asking for bids. That's because of the Professional Services Act. You cannot ask for prices. So you'll have to select someone based on their qualifications, then rank them based on their qualifications. Then you go and do a negotiated contract with them. If you can't settle with number one, you go to number two on the list, start with them. So that's kind of the way the process works.
You publishing it in Dallas Morning News too, or?
Yes, sir, we can do any of that.
Okay, all right. Mr. Wright, any questions?
No, I think that's a good idea.
Mr. Jenkins?
No questions.
No question.
Anybody else? Mr. Frierson?
Yeah, just real quick, and this doesn't limit us to the manner in which these projects take place, or one firm versus multiple firms. It's
No,
just.
sir. You can select one or as many as you want, as
Okay.
many as submit qualifications.
Okay, that's my only question.
Mine too. That was my question, so thank you. Great.
Okay. Did I ask Dr. Grossnickel? Did I miss you, Dr. Grossnickel?
No,
Okay. We need a motion on this item, please?
I make a motion, we go forward with it.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 19, discuss and possibly act on economic incentive agreement by and between the City of Paris and Red River Region Business Incubator. Mr. McAllier.
Mayor and City Council, at the last meeting or work session, I'm not sure which it was, but it was recent, you asked me to prepare a draft agreement between the city and the Red River Valley Incubator, Business Incubator, for the City Council's funding, partial funding of the incubator for 2013-14. I've done that. I've included it in your packets here. I've also forwarded it to the chairman over at Incubator, Sydney Young, and she was out of town last week, so I don't know if she's had a whole lot of time to look at it yet, but she does have it. She's had it. She's been emailing me today a little bit, but she's just getting into it. So
is it finalized or not finalized?
it's finalized as far as I'm
From our
concerned,
standpoint,
but yeah, we've gotten no input back from the incubator yet as to anything they want to add or delete. And
Mr. Wright.
Does it protect us in the event that an incompetent person gives bad advice and some young tenant goes broke? Are we immune from being liable?
we do ask, this is an independent contractor agreement. We will ask them to indemnify us back for this funding. Just today, Sydney did forward me a copy of their client agreement that the incubator uses with their tenants, and it also has some more layers of indemnification and hold harmless in there, where their clients, their business clients, hold the incubator itself harmless and indemnify them against anything that might go wrong.
Thank you.
Mr. Jenkins?
I have no questions right now.
Ms. Lancaster?
Not at this time.
Dr. Grossnickel?
No questions.
Mr. Frierson?
Just real quick, just so I can be clear, Sydney hasn't gotten back with you on any negotiations of any kind. This is just our side of it at this point, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And assuming any changes come back or points of contention, you'll bring that.
I'll bring it
Back
back
to
to
us?
you if that's what you want to do. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that you act on this tonight since she hasn't given me any of her comments yet.
My question was actually the same as Mr. Wright's question, so I'm satisfied with it. So I'll take a motion to table this item for the time being. Second? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? We go to item number 20, which is presentation by me on Paris Economic Development Corporation's expenses, budget, financial oversights, and policies. I have a few comments to make before I start this presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, as I make this presentation today on PEDC, there are certain facts that I want to mention first. I thought repeatedly whether to make this presentation or not, since it might hurt the feelings of some. I want to assure them that the purpose of this is not to make anyone look bad. My intention is for us as a community, the 7 of us as council members and the PEDC as a board, to jointly work together and improve our performance. The purpose is to have in place checks and balances that nobody in future can look back and say that we were wasteful, unorganized, and non-transparent. The purpose is not criticism of the people who have worked there, but is to protect the taxpayers' money from abuse. The purpose is to institute policies and procedures that protect them and us as a council, for us to be able to outperform other cities in securing the most bang for our buck that we spend on economic development. Now, I'm going to show some slides with some charges, and maybe there is an explanation for all the expenses. But did we really get all what we wanted from the money spent? Taxpayers' money, after all, has to be considered as a joint account of all the people of this community that have contributed in it. Unless we look back at our history, we will never be able to improve our performance. I'll start by first reading the proposition which came into existence and which brought the Economic Development Council into existence. And that was the adoption of an additional sales and use tax within the city of Paris, Texas, at the rate of 1/4 of 1% to be used for the benefit of a corporation to carry out industrial development programs consistent with the purposes and duties set out in the Development Corporation Act of 1979. The questions that I had was, did we achieve what we all embarked on? Can we do better than what we have done in the past? And have we provided the taxpayer their money's worth? I'm going to start with some slide presentations. I do want to tell two other things, and that is the slides that I'm going to present are obtained by myself on my own request of open records. I have paid for it myself. The city has not paid for those slides to make the slides or to get copies made of the open records. There were about 1,800 pages which had to be copied. So, and don't worry, I'm not presenting 1,800 pages. We'll try to make it short. So I'll come up and I'll try to present.
I'm getting my phone, folks, that's all.
Got all the time in the world tonight.
Next week. 2 weeks.
Next
2
week.
weeks. Next week or something.
Yeah.
These are, can everyone hear me? Yeah? No? Can you hear me now? How about now? These are some of the expenses, and I'm not going to try to present everything here because that's too time consuming, but I'm going to point out a few things over here. This is an expense report from December 28, 2012. I just want you to concentrate on the food charges which are listed there as $151.79. There are some other charges which are listed over here, which I'm going to read. There is a charge from Rusty Taco, followed by Capizzi's Restaurant, followed by Capizzi's Restaurant. Then you keep going down, Capizzi's Restaurant, Capizzi's Restaurant, keep going down, Domino's Pizza, then Capizzi's, 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 Paris Bakery, Paris Bakery. These charges, when combined together, exceed the $150 that are listed. Now, you can say that the way they have divided these charges is they have divided these charges sometimes into new businesses and sometimes into existing businesses or existing industry. Then you go down on the next page further, there's again charges from Meagle's Grill, then there are charges from Capizzi's, and I'm going to try to get to the individual receipts. This is a charge, again, $53.52, not a big charge, but a PEDC luncheon meeting. Another Capizzi's, it does not indicate exactly what this charge was for. It may very well be known to the people who went, but my understanding on submission of all these charges is the fact that whenever I'm submitting my tax return, my accountant always asks me if there is a business expense of who was there, what the charge was for, and what was discussed in that meeting, what was the importance for it. There is a Rusty Taco bill over here. Again, what that was used for, unclear. Another staff lunch, again, Capizzi's, not a big charge, but it's there. Another charge, again, food. Another staff meeting at Capizzi's. Another charge at Capizzi's. Another charge where the city manager is invited to at Capizzi's. No indication of what this meeting was for. Another luncheon meeting. Then there are some hotel charges, and this may be a justified trip. I'm not questioning that at all, but it's there. Then there is a preferred seating charge of $17 on American Airlines. A hotel charge again, an airline ticket charge. This is for 1 month, and I have not put all the charges here. I've just taken out some of them. I also want to remind one thing and want to make it very clear here that whenever people go to these meetings, one must remember that the organization or your company is supposed to issue you a 1099 form which has to be declared as income on your whatever you have consumed. So I'm not sure whether 1099s have been issued. Wherever there is more than a $25 charge, there's a 1099 that is supposed to be issued. Again, there's some new industry charge, there's food charge you can see, and then there's travel expenses of $8,134. Then there are bills from Paris Golf and Country Club. As you can all see, multiple bills from Paris Golf and Country Club. And then there is a hat that has been bought from Brad Barentine. And if I recall it right, when Mr. Pickle was on the council, I don't think at any point Mr. Pickle used his publication company to publish anything for the city. And I think this $495 is a conflict between the person buying it and the person owning the company. There's a charge at Vic and Anthony's restaurant in Houston of $634. We continue on that there is a CVS charge. It is not clear what the CVS pharmacy charge is for, but there is a charge for that. There's a Hilton hotel charge in Houston of $2,000. And if you go down further, there are 3 charges for Hilton hotels in Houston, 1018, 1141, and 1047, followed by a subway charge at the bottom of the page for $140. We go here again. There's Sweet D's Cakes and Confectionaries in Paris. There's Paris Bakery, and then again Capizzi's, followed by Paris Bakery, Paris Bakery. This is some of the breakdown that they had provided. I'm going to skip this slide actually. And this may be all justified. It was done out of town, but again, there is a charge for buying a leaf, a can of Pepsi, and M&Ms. There is Vic and Anthony's Steakhouse charge for $534. On this bill, at least, it is not written who was invited, what was discussed, and where the report is. There's a charge at Brennan's in Houston of $346. Again, no information of where the expense report is. There is again a staff. Hello? Okay. There's another charge at Bodark, and we don't know what the charge is for. There's another lunch, staff lunch, at Capizzi's. This is some of the charges from the Hilton at Houston. The lobby bar charge for $63, followed by Spencer's bar charge $441. There is a laundry charge for $16. Bills, which I'm going to skip. This is the felt hat that was given as a gift to Project Jewel. This is related to some gifts which were bought for Project Modern Art. Again, there are some hotel bills, and I'm not going to go into the details of all the airline tickets which account. If mileage was collected on that, it would be over 150,000 miles. The next month, and I'm going to keep going at it, Um,
I've got a fresh one.
There's a charge at Paris Golf and Country Club. There's a charge for $1,936 at Steakhouse. Again, one can clearly see there are charges at Paris Golf and Country Club, Wynn Las Vegas, $490, and then charges again at Capizzi's, Brookshire's. Thank you. Now, this is the charge at Ruth Chris Steakhouse. I'm covering the names of the individuals who are there because the purpose of this presentation is not to make anyone look bad by any means. It is just to bring everybody's attention to it. There's $1,936 spent at Ruth Chris Steakhouse, and most of the people who attended the dinner were local people. There is no description written as to what was discussed and what was the intention of this. The only thing that I can say it is charged to account 001 and 002 and divided at 968.45 and 968.45.
Date?
February 26th.
February 27th.
February 27th.
There is a charge at a bar in Houston, $569, $284 divided in 1 and 2. There is no information on who attended, what was discussed, and why. There's a dinner trip to Clarksville. There's yet another luncheon meeting. There are Magnolia House charges. It is not written exactly what the purpose of this meeting was. And these are some other hotel charges. And I'm not clear, but there was a banquet for $2,309 followed by $2,309. There's a total written $6,985. I cannot make up my mind as to what the brackets are for, but it was again divided in 1 and 2. Then there was an open bar for beer and wine for 2 hours for $720. We go to the next month now. Food charges written are $168. These are charges at Paris Golf and Country Club, Paris Golf and Country Club, Old Magnolia House, Paris Coffee Company, Garibaldi's, Meigel's, Jalapenos Mexican Grill. It continues on in the same month. There are Sweet D's Cake and Confectioneries, Paris Coffee Company, Capizzi's, Paris Bakery, Girls and Cakes, Subway, and then further down you can just look for yourself what all of that is. There's some breakdown written over here. I'm going to skip this slide. Meigel's Grill, again, not sure what the meeting was about and what was discussed. Another luncheon. Another one with Hank and Steve. Another working luncheon. There was another meeting where multiple things were ordered. It is not written as to what the meeting was for. This is for a project which is at least written that it's for Project Good Roads. There's another staff luncheon. There's the staff breakfast. There's something at Saltgrass Steakhouse. There's some TCIM meeting. Another charge for Project Jewel, an $8 car wash, which is listed, but there is no receipt for that on this. This is again for Project Jewel. Again, charges for Project Jewel, which is $792 there. And then there are some hotel charges, which I'm going to skip. Charges for food written at 100 and whatever amount of dollars, 53. Then there are again charges at Capizzi's, a stay at Adolphus Hotel in Dallas. I cannot figure out for the world of it what the charge of whatever $8 and cents is at Armstrong McCall. And if you know, Armstrong McCall is the cosmetic shop in town. Then there is Paris Coffee Company, Brahms, Capizzi's. I don't want people to take that I'm against Capizzi's now because I'd love to eat there. Again, restaurant charges, and then there are hotel charges which are written down below.
You see my car, you know.
Actually, skip this. Charges again at Magnolia House. Magnolia House. This is for Project Modern Art though, so. Again, catering for you charges, but it does say that it's for Project Modern Art. So charges are listed right there. This is interesting. There's kettle cooked chips, Big Hunk, whatever that is, Monster Zero, QT Energy Shot. Again, restaurant charges, etc., etc. Restaurant charges again. This is a charge for Paris Bakery, again, Project Modern Art.
Mr. Mayor, he wanted me to let you know once 20 minutes had...
I'm not stopping right now. Staff luncheon. Capizzi's, working lunch again. Capizzi's, working lunch again.
What year is this?
2012. Actually, I'm only presenting charges for 2012. I cannot possibly present 1,800 pages which are there, but I've selected some of them. But there are plenty of other records. Bottom line that I will reflect, however, is the fact that irrespective of which month you look at, it's kind of the same trend. Adolphus stay in Dallas. There are charges again from a hotel, and it may be that this was a meeting, but there were some odd charges there. Working lunch, working lunch, working lunch, working lunch, Red Oak Planning, I'm not sure what that was, but Jack's Gourmet Burgers. There are some charges for Lay's potato chips and gum. Food charges listed $309 here. Again, the same thing continues on. Jack's, Jalapenos, Chili's, Paris Coffee Company, Capizzi's, Applebee's. Another lunch or dinner, I'm not sure what this was. Paris Golf and Country Club, again some sort of a meeting. Jalapenos, not clear what this was for. Applebee's staff luncheon again. Luncheon meeting. Staff lunch again. Staff lunch again. And I'm going to skip these airline trips. There are some food charges written again, $109. On this, I had a question. I'm not sure in what capacity Mr. McKee was taken to Washington and why his trip was paid for. If I recall, he was not on the board of PADC. I don't think he was a council member either, and I'm not sure what the Washington trip was that required his presence. If you remember, Stan McKee was the Encore person. There's a hotel charge for $4,538. Then there's a hotel charge for $1,214. Then there is charges, as you can keep going all the way down. There's another charge right there for $4,800 for the, I think that was airline tickets, if I'm not mistaken. And then there are charges at the hotel in Rockwall. Again, Cozy Cappuccino, Capizzi's. Again, Capizzi's, Garibaldi's. This is the charge which was divided to 0317 and 0318. 0317 is global recruiting and 0318 is advanced manufacturing. If I recall it right, there was a question raised at one time when the one of the council members traveled and he used valet parking, over which all of us were quite upset. It's quite apparent there too. A hotel charge again. Another working lunch. There's a hotel charge. I'm going to skip this. And then there are some airline charges again. There's charge at the Quail Hunting Resort. There's charges at Old Magnolia House, and again, a trip for Mr. McKee to California this time. Continues on with Girls and Cakes, Garibaldi's, Capizzi's, and so on and so forth. Again, food written for $179. Hotel charges, Skinny Grill charges, again, Old Magnolia House, Omni Hotel downtown, $5,000. Again, hotel charges for $1,400, and that Capizzi's and Cozy's continues on. Again, hotel charges there. Hotel charges. Hotel charges. This is a CIRMA meeting actually, so that's fine. Jack's Gourmet Burgers again. Not indicated what this is for. Couldn't completely see what this was for, but again, some food charges listed here. Charges at Time Flies. And these are R3 luncheons. Thank you, Stacy. Working lunch. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I can continue going on and on and on, but I'm going to stop at this point. I have a few words to say. Some of these expenses are quite exorbitant. I do, however, want to point out that some of the hotel expenses shown are expenses for Lamar County Days for volunteers who were kind enough to travel to Austin to cook burgers and promote our city. Many of the volunteers cannot afford to take off work and stay overnight to help promote our city. I want to thank them, and I only wish all citizens could go and help promote our wonderful city. However, we cannot afford this type of expense. I do believe that we should have Lamar County Days, which should be budgeted with an exact amount, and random selection of people be done so that everyone has an opportunity to represent the city. I have a few other suggestions. Can I get some water, Janice? Can I get some water? I'm not interested in knowing what could, what should, and what has happened, but we need to learn from our mistakes so that we don't keep repeating that. I'm interested in knowing that is this the way we want to continue. I think we as a council and the PEDC board should share the responsibility that we should have done a better job at formulating policies and procedures and following them. There is nobody to be blamed than ourselves, and we in future should be careful and cognizant of the way we spend taxpayer funds. I think at the beginning of any project, these are my suggestions. I think the PEDC chairperson is here. Is Ms. Clifford here? Yeah. These are my suggestions. You should do what you want to do. You are the PEDC board member. But my thoughts are, I think at the beginning of any project, we should see what the project is worth to the city and how badly do we want it. We should have a dollar amount allotted to each project based on what it will bring to the city and how badly we want it. And that should be approved by the PEDC board, whether it is for entertainment or financial support of the project. And this should be based on sound knowledge of what the project brings to us. Detailed summary reports need to be prepared on every project that is evaluated, and at the end of every project, whether we are successful or unsuccessful or why we lost the project, and what can be done to improve the next time so that we don't lose any further projects. We should stay in our budgets that we have allocated for the projects, and we should try to think of new ways of getting projects that is brokerage-based rather than consultant-based, and I can discuss that at a later stage. We should rethink that since it is not easy to bring manufacturing jobs that easily, what else can be done so that we as a community all improve, if in no other ways then at least help use the money to improve the quality of life of the residents, since this is our responsibility and we should reassess our choices. Finally, we should hold all of ourselves to same standard. If we can blame a council member for overspending on car rental or hotel rooms or dining, then we should institute similar rules for wherever taxpayer funds are used. Thank you for listening.
Mayor, may I make a comment, please?
Please.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I think that was all very enlightening, so thank you for taking the time to comb through mountains of information for that. I don't know, my personal takeaway out of that is, as you stated a couple weeks ago in the newspaper, the PEDC board is charged and appointed to run their budget as they see fit. While I do think we all have room for improvement, I do think it's important to know that, you know, the process is continual and not everything is an exact science. So to try to stipulate without even asking the question, because as far as I understand, nobody's asked Steve about these bank accounts or charges or transactions in most cases. The council is free to attend the board meetings, and I'm sure I've always found Mr. Gilbert to be very cooperative if there was ever a need that arose or any changes he might need to make, or just to look at things from a different angle. So I think he's been very cooperative, and certainly if there needs to be a more detailed documentation of expense reports, then I'm sure he'd be willing to do that. But to throw a blanket over everything and say that those charges were just out of bounds or out of left field, he does a lot of good work, some of which can't be quantified. And I do want that noted. As far as the other things, I know that the PDC is in works with Mr. Carr and I believe Mr. Turner to look at their budget and their spending habits. So I'm sure that is going to be a continual progress. But like I said, the PDC board has accepted and approved these things. I think that if we were to go to look to improvement, we should look to the board, and I think they understand the cause as it's stated so far. But I do want it noted over and above anything else that what Steve does, there's so much of it that is out there that is not immediate return on investment, and those relationships are so hard to quantify and qualify that while can we nitpick and go through, and I'm not saying that's the case all the time, but can we say everything is black and white in the line of work that he's in? No, we can't. So I'm sure we'll hear more from PDC as we move forward. Thank you.
Mr. Frierson, in response to your question, I appreciate your comments. I do want to say one thing. I keep a record of every phone call and every text message that I make. Steve has been called by me for the last 6 times prior to the presentation. I have a record of those calls. If you would like to see it, I'll show you that number of calls and the duration of each of those calls so that a message was left on his phone. And I did not get a reply back prior to this.
Well,
but anyway, I'm not here to start.
Well, if I may respond to that, you're also an ex officio member of the PDC, and he's at those meetings.
Yes,
okay.
I realize that.
Okay. I just didn't know if you could see him there.
No, sir, I have not seen him there.
I don't know how many of those you've attended.
I have not attended a whole lot of those meetings for a particular reason, and I'll not go into those details at this point.
Well, I'm just saying it's available.
That is not a response to my question of not answering the phone. Thank you. Mr. Wright.
Well, I think the facts speak for themselves. I think we can do a better job, and I think that we do need more oversight. And I think that the PEDC board is the agency to start that, and I think the council should ensure that they do.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Anyone has any other comments? Mr. Jenkins?
Well, I just kind of think things need to be monitored a little bit more to try to help the city the best way we can. That's what we all here for, so.
Ms. Lancaster?
Well, tax dollars are, they need to be spent very carefully. And I know when I was in business and we had, for instance, when I was traveling for Exxon or any of those companies, you had to be very, very careful what you spent, very well documented. And this just looks like a little too free. And I think closer oversight is just in order.
Dr. Grosnickle?
I agree with a lot that Ms. Lancaster just said. I have no doubt that many of those large expenditures were legitimate and occurred on trips to visit with prospective industries and to entertain people who might be parties to a future deal, including sometimes some of our representatives and senators that represent our area. But there do seem to be a whole lot of charges that, are just general business or just general lunches and breakfasts and things. And I don't know if Steve has a expense account per se, but we can always ask him. Nobody's asked Mr. Gilbert yet, and he may not want to take this opportunity to speak.
If he wants to address, I'll put him on the agenda for next time.
Okay, all right. I guess that's about it.
Ms. Drake.
I just would like to say PEDC has brought businesses in. Some they weren't able to get here. I think there are probably some ways that we can tighten up and just be sure that there's maybe a little more documentation for what's taking place and how the money's being spent and for what reason. And again, in past jobs that I've had, we had to be very careful about what we spent money for and documentation to turn it in. I'm not saying anything that PEDC has done is illegal. I want that right up front. I just think that tightening up of how things are spent and how it is submitted to the city for a report could probably be better done. And from what Mr. Frierson said, and I was at the last PEDC meeting, that Ms. Clifford has assigned 2 board members to start that process, and so I think we're in the right direction there. So I appreciate the board and Steve, and hope that we can just go forward and get everything in shape so that we can continue to be the best that we can be for Paris and Lamar County.
Thank you, Ms. Drake. With that, the time is 7 p.m. Item number 21 is convened into executive session pursuant to 5. Do we have something on the executive session? Nothing?
The only thing is on there, it says city manager.
I don't think we need that here. Do you have anything to discuss in executive session? No. We'll pass item number 21. Item number, 22 is past 2. I consider item number 23. Consider and approve future events for City Council and City staff pursuant to Resolution number 2004-081.
I do have a question. Did we bring back, we mentioned it last time about the Attorney General opinion?
It's not on the agenda, but if you want to say something.
I'm sorry, I hope I'm not in the wrong forum for this, but we had discussed it last time.
We did request at that time that we gave advice to PEDC board to please get the opinion.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Did we officially do that? If we didn't, we'll put it on the agenda and do it next time.
Thank you very much.
We can do it tomorrow. Well, we don't have time for tomorrow, but next time.
Thank you.
Mr. Frierson,
So
item
moved.
24.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.